I don't have any spark. So what I've done so far is I pulled the recoil starter off, pulled the dog cage off, and on here's the flywheel. Right there are the marks F and T, and you can line it up with that index right there. Get your top dead center and your timing right. So anyways, I took the Magneto all out. I took all of this is held in by 3 screws. I took all that out and I hit it with some sandpaper and then cleaned it up with this paper towel. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. I've been looking at these points. This is a points engine. That's how it generates the spark. And so what you do is you set the timing on here. You want to set the timing to the F, like that. And I have this cover off. And basically right here is your points. Actuated by this little cam lobe on the shaft, and it gets pushed just like that. And that's what throws the spark. So anyways, I printed this off the internet. Turn the rotor counterclockwise until the F mark aligns with the index. The breaker point should begin to open at this exact moment. If not, proceed to step 4. Well, step 4 just says to rotate the little stator plate. But my problem is more serious. As you can see, there's a keyway on the side right there, and then there's a matching keyway on this cam lobe for this thing. There it is. It's at the top, right? Yeah, right there. That goes in the keyway on the cam. Now, it's at the F position right now. So when I put all of this back on, alright, so right there, it's on the F, and the cam lobe is nowhere near beginning to open this. It's actually 180 degrees off, because right here is the tip of the lobe, and it needs, this part 180 degrees over is the beginning of the lobe. So what I'm going to do is I've already started. I'm going to pull the camshaft out. I've got the 2 screws out, 2 bolts. And I'm just going to flip the camshaft. A pair of pliers, just grab it and twist it. I'm going to flip it and see if we have spark. If not, then I've got a date with the ohm meter. Well, the next thing I would do is they actually put the CDI box inside. There's a CDI and a condenser, and those are both located inside of the stamped frame. So there's 2 bolts on the other side that go in the frame. I'll undo those, and it looks like I can get my hand through this air box hole, and I can push the wiring harness through here so I can get to the CDI box. And then actually, when it screws on, that's how it grounds. So it has to ground to the frame. So what I'm going to do is just sand that surface that mates up to the frame, and make sure it's nice and clean. But the thing is that I wasn't getting any spark before, but if I grab the end of the spark plug while I rip the pull starter, I would get a pretty good jolt, just no spark. And I do have the correct spark plug now, and it's the same deal. There we go. I flipped the camshaft with the pliers. Wasn't as barbaric of a procedure that I thought it was going to be. It actually turned pretty easy. So basically what I did was I just grabbed a hold of it and spun it. So I'm going to check and see that I'm still on the F mark, which I am. I'm going to get these 2 bolts back in. These go through the cam flange and into the sprocket. They screw in. You want to be incredibly careful to make sure that you don't drop these down into the case. If your cam chain is really tight and somehow you end up, getting your camshaft pulled out a little bit, it can be really hard to get back in if this chain has got tension on it. So the easy way without, loosening up the cam chain with the cam chain loosener thing is to go ahead and take this cover off the other side to right here is the end of your camshaft, and you can stick your finger in there and help guide the camshaft into the hole. And once you get it in there, since the chain is so tight, it won't go any further into the hole. So just take your hammer and lightly tap the end there. There's no threads at the beginning, so you're not going to mess anything up by doing that. And just tap on it and guide it through with your finger on the other side. This camshaft was upside down, so whenever you would get to your top dead center, to the mark where it would line up, the mark on the cam sprocket would be over here. So what I did was I just flipped it around, so that now when it's at top dead center down here, it's also a top dead center right here, which the valve should be loose, and both of your marks should line up. Keyway is right here, and that's going to line up perfect on this, and it's just to open right when it should. And I'm sure I'll have to adjust it a little bit, and I'll just be with the rotating the stator plate and then locking it down. Alright, so I got the CDI stator plate on. So I'm going to put this dog cage back on, see if it'll start, or see if I have any spark. Everything on here is 10 mil. So you just get your socket on there, and when you try and torque it down, it's going to move on you. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to tap it with the hammer to to get it on there good and tight. And the jolt tightens it without it moving, you know what I mean? And it's the same deal with getting them off. Just tap it with the hammer. Another thing to do well, I did this earlier, but if you end up taking the Magneto off and you can get your hand around this flywheel, you really want to go up and down with it and see if it'll move up and down or in and out. You can see it just slightly moves in and out. I don't know if you can hear it. That's normal. It should not move up and down or side to side or anything. That tells you that your bearings are shot. But that's a good thing to check. So I'm slowly turning it. Well, I'm turning it the wrong way. It's supposed to go counterclockwise. So there, it's opening now. And that's about the right gap that you want to have. You want a 15 thousandths gap. That's about right. So what I did was I took a piece of sandpaper, took a piece of sandpaper and I folded it, and I just stuck it in between the 2 points right there and gave it a good sand. You just stick it up against something metal. Make sure you're not grabbing the end, because you'll get a pretty serious jolt. Don't know how well that's going to show up, but she's fixed. So what I'm going to do now is put that cover back on, put the plug back in, and see if it'll start. Now another thing, before I go to start this, on this forums that I read, it's called threewheelerworld.com. I'm going to go ahead and say right now that it's an excellent website if you need help. You got people on there who are experts with every kind of three-wheeler ever made by Honda and Yamaha. But I've read that you need to have your kill switch to the on position, and you also need to have your headlight on in order for it to start. Well, to fix the timing, this is going to be the first crank.